Hi, this is Ed again on my YouTube channel called Atheist, a Bird with No Cage. And this is, well, I'm not even going to apologize, but this morning I walked, just a couple hours ago, I walked with my closest friend in the world, someone that I love very much, that I think of as my sister, and she's a Mexican woman of about in her mid or early 40s. And we talk because she needs we walk because she needs exercise. And of course, so do I. And it's not much, but we do. Like this morning, we did a total of, there and back would be half a kilometer, sort of thing. Anyway, we got talking, and this friend, I'm talking about my go-to thing that, are you religious? What do you believe and why do you believe it? And she's explaining to me that she's not religious. She was raised in the Jehovah's Witnesses religion, but she's not religious now. I think she still tries to go to church once a year, which is at Easter, the Saturday of Easter, and I've gone with her to her church. Well, it's not her church, but the church, the Jehovah's Witness Assembly Hall, I think they call it. I think I've gone with her twice now, maybe 3 times. I've been there a total of 4 times. And we're only about over a month from Easter, and I think I might do it again this year, not sure. But anyway, we got talking about the idea that she's not religious, she doesn't really practice the religion, but I didn't know it, but just recently I found out she claims to, as she puts it, she believes in God. So I asked her, well, why do you believe, or what is it you believe, and why do you believe it? And she doesn't know what she believes. She just believes that there's something very vague, and she basically turns it around and says, you probably can't understand because you think more like a philosopher or something like that. And I agree with her, but I'm convinced that she's saying words that I don't think that they have really any meaning for her. She believes something that she can't understand and says that it's kind of me that I'm not able to understand. Yeah, I mean, she's right. I don't understand how it can be that a person can, and I've heard this from many people, absolutely convinced. The guy that I do the copy clutch with the preacher, he says exactly the same thing. I say, tell me what it is you believe in. What is this? You use the word God or Yahweh, or in my female friend's case, Anna's case, I guess she would, I don't know, Jehovah, I guess she would call it. I would ask, okay, what is that? And neither one of them ever give any answer. The preacher has suggested, well, it's like a spirit, which helps not at all, because I don't understand what anybody means by spirit, like the boogeyman or a ghost. Either of those, the boogeyman, I never understood what the hell that's supposed to mean. You know, the boogeyman we knew as kids, or thought we knew. But maybe it's the same thing. I think I believed that the boogeyman was a real thing, but I had no idea what the hell it was. I don't know. So anyway, that's the way the conversation goes. And so far, she seems, I think she's honestly, really convinced that she really believes this is real, but I can't get any description in her case, she just says something, you know, and I love her too much to hold her feet to the fire or push her too much on that, but it makes me question. And I bring up the idea of, okay, generally this idea that of God that you believe in, when I am talking about God in general terms, I'm not thinking of like all of the gods of Hinduism, Hanuman the monkey god, or anything like that. I'm trying to think of this generic sort of. I think Matt Dillahunty calls it the classical philosophic idea of a god. An entity. It's kind of like a mental entity, I think, is what they're trying to describe. So there doesn't seem to be any. There's not. Well, in fact, they say sometimes it's not physical. It doesn't exist in time or space. And that's really strange for me, because that's exactly the way I would describe something that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in time or space. Things that exist, everything. I mean, even when we think of things like air and wind and things like that, we know them in time and space. I mean, air and wind, we feel them. Air, we can weigh it. We can, we can fill up a tire with on our bicycle or our car with it, and all of those things. So I'm really convinced, or I'm really confused about, or struggling at least to try to understand what those particular persons. Just the other day, I have another friend that lives here in Mexico, also another woman called Anna, and we were talking about this, and she brought up the thing her mother is very religious, but she doesn't practice religion, Catholic religion, and she kind of laughed about the fact that her mother is very religious, so when she's with her mother, she goes to church on Sunday, and she does all the stuff. She does the confession and eating a cracker, but she doesn't believe that stuff. But, so I got, well, I don't know if you call yourself an atheist like me, and all of a sudden oh no, I believe in God. And once again, when I ask, please explain, I'm trying not to be antagonistic or corner her or anything. I'm just trying to, please explain to me what do you mean? You believe, what is this thing that you believe in? And once again, she doesn't even try. She just smiles and says, she says, I don't know, I just believe it, and I don't practice Catholicism except when I go with my mother, because it would bother my mother. I guess she says she's never told her mother that she doesn't believe that stuff or anything like that. So it's the same, I think, since the very first video I made. I don't know if you look on my site, Atheist the Bird with No Cage on YouTube, I might have 29 or 30. How many videos do I have now on YouTube? Do you know? 30?
35.
35? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he says maybe 35, whatever. But I think from the very beginning, this is there's no doubt in my mind, I don't have any belief. In fact, with the Christian God, it's the one I know the best, and that one I'm happy saying, I believe it doesn't exist. The rest of them I just say I don't have a belief, because I don't even know, I've never had anybody describe them. But the one, with the Christian one, I'm going on, I'm assuming this kind of a definition, that whatever this thing is, it's all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipotent, omniscient, and benevolent. omnibenevolent. And those things cannot go together in one entity or being of any kind as far as I'm concerned. Unless, well, in fact, what they do is just say, okay, if this thing is all knowing and all powerful, then how, it's the problem of evil. You go, how is it the case that children die, children get raped, children get suffer? How can those things happen if a God is all powerful and he knows this shit's happening and he's benevolent? And the way they get out of that is they say, well, we don't understand his benevolence, basically. Maybe there's a way. It doesn't make sense to me, not in the least, to how you can, something like a child getting raped and are killed by some idiot, evil person. I have no, if God finds a way to say that fits in with his benevolence, I don't buy it. And if it's and you and I would agree that's horrible, evil thing to happen. If that's the case, why does he let it happen? If, you ask me, you want to be God? You're damn right. I'll take being God. First of all, that would never happen. Nobody would be starving to death in the world. There'd be no cancer, there'd be no heart disease. Hey, look, 5 minutes I could do that, fix all those, no more wars. That's easy, so don't give me the bullshit, you just want to be God. Yeah, I don't want to be God, and I don't think I am God, but would I like to be? You're damn right. For 5 or 10 minutes, At any rate, my friend that I walked with this morning, she brought up a good point. Her father died recently, and her mother died some time ago. Her mother suffered for about 25 years, she tells me, with a series of cancer, types of cancer or incidents with cancer and everything. So she had a very difficult, painful life and everything, and died. And her mother, she loves a lot, was a good person and everything. Her father, on the other hand, was not an evil person necessarily, but much less what we'd call a kind thinking person, and he died peacefully, died in his sleep or something like that. And I think she's asking the right question. How can that be? This one person who is a good person, a loving person, a caring person, suffers with this deity watching and knowing that's happening? How do you, I just don't. And the other guy, her dad, who was like an okay guy, but certainly not a loving, caring like her mother was, how do you put, it just doesn't make sense to me. So both of those women, I hope to have further conversations with them, because the point I'm at now in the narrative and the conversations with religious folks is I'm less and less caring about trying to slam dunk their argument, say that's it doesn't make sense, or even arguing with them about, if they're a Bible believer, my reading of the Bible, it's a horrible book. It's this deity seems to, approve of, he's got rules for slavery, for example, in Exodus 21, clearly. I've heard Matt Dillahunty go over that one umpteen times, and there's no way you can. But what I'm more interested in is how religious folk hold these contradictory ideas together. It seems to me the answer is, well, it's not really the answer, but the way they get to be that way is they're indoctrinated the ones I'm talking about now, from very young age, and they say the words, and yeah, I believe in something, a superior being or a higher power, or that kind of talking. Can't in any way to describe or define what the hell it is they're talking about. But that kind of thing, it seems to me, once it gets into you, it's really hard to dig it out, especially if it was embedded in you as a child. I mean, we often talk about the Santa Claus thing, for example. They'll actually bring that up and say, oh, well, we believed in Santa Claus and we stopped believing in that. Yes, but the Santa Claus thing, as soon as we get to an age, whatever age the kid starts to go, this Santa Claus thing, it doesn't make sense. How does he get down the chimney? Or we don't even have a chimney. Or our chimney is this big, or something like that. How does he get down? And what happens is, somewhere about that point, parents start to go, well, Santa Claus, Santa Claus isn't real. Santa Claus is a story we talk about, because it's nice to have this myth about this guy comes around and brings presents and everything. So the fact is, they don't push it anymore. But religion, they keep on hammering it. I attended the Pentecostal church for a couple of years ago. I almost every Sunday I went. I fell in love with their music. They had great musicians and everything. And not only that, it felt good. Be around a bunch of people singing. We're singing at the top of our lungs and all that shit. But it seems like those people are there going, we believe, we believe, we believe. It's kind of like you have to keep convincing yourself that you believe this. And there's no explanation of why we believe or anything like that. It's just, Jesus is here. We feel Jesus. God is with us. Whatever they're saying over and over and over again. And I never got it. But I must say thanks to the Pentecostal church, because I really enjoyed those, listening to the music. And the interesting thing is, and I've admitted many times, I understand why people go to church things, even though there's nothing reasonable about their beliefs or anything. But I understand, especially the Pentecostals, they're great, because man, they have the best music. We had a keyboard player that was a good singer, guitar, bass guitar, and a drummer that to die for. I'm a musician, and I would love to have played my music with that drummer. So I would leave that church every time I went. I think it was every time, or close to every time. I would leave that church after all this singing and everything, and just feel like, woo, I feel good. As I've said before, I used to walk down to the OXXO and get a big cup of cappuccino and walk home sipping on my cappuccino coffee and just going, wow, that was so much fun. The interesting thing, it never got me any closer to, it had nothing to do, in my experience, I didn't even think about the possibility of the God thing, except listening to the Jesus is real, Jesus is here thing. That's a big part about what this getting together every Sunday is we kind of like the football cheer, where, yeah, we believe, we can win, all that sort of thing. It's convincing yourself. And anyway, I hope to talk to, in fact, I may even see her today, I hope later. What did I say it was, February 2nd? Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday, right?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay, February 2nd. I think today's Super Bowl Sunday. I haven't watched a game this year, but I think I'm going to turn it on later and watch it. So that's all for today, and thanks. I hope somebody's listening, and if you are, thanks, whether it's in the future or wherever. Anyway, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next time.